Welcome to part 4 of building an Art Deco skyscraper in Planet Coaster. And in this episode, I continue with the rest of the main body of the building. As you can see here, I build 2 towers and then I copy and paste to make the opposite side also work, and then I start moving on to the crown. And the point of the crown was to sort of gradually rise slowly up into a spire. I originally had planned on making the spire of that ride the spire of the building, but it wouldn't have been large enough and it wouldn't have looked good enough for me. Also, what else happens? Well, not a lot in general. That is basically what happens. It was a bit tricky working out how to get a gradual tower, because the buildings cannot be placed with half walls. I really hope that we get half walls. That would be something that would really improve a lot of stuff I could do with this game. Unfortunately, we only have this one square wall, which means you have to get creative if you want to make shorter walls. I'm sure something will happen in the future with that. Another thing I did was to make the whole side of this particular part, instead of making 4, one separate one and multiplying it 3 more times, I decided to make it just one side, hopefully to make it line up easier. It didn't quite work in some regards, but you will see later. You will see that later. You won't see that now, because I'm still working on figuring out how to make windows look okay. And I quite like, I do think these windows look a bit Art Nouveau. They look a bit Art Deco-y. They look of the time period with their specific shapes, and I quite like how they turned out. I really need to work out more ways to make certain tower shapes that I have been lacking at the moment. I've been looking at other videos and researching, and I have been impressed with lots of what I've seen in terms of object use to make, I want to make Second Empire style roofs, and I want to make a tower roof. The best way for me to describe this would be the tower. The Addams family have that tower and it has that particular shaped roof in their house. I want to make a roof that looks like that for my current build, and I saw a player, I think it was Silverette. He made a really cool roof and I was very inspired by that, so I will have a go at that. I think everyone knows who Silverette is, because he's probably one of the best players who play this game. So what else? I mean, I look at other people's builds too, because there are so many good ideas, and I just figure out ways that I can use them for my builds, and they are very useful and save me a lot of time. I think I also get lots of comments from really nice people who tell me that why don't I use this more, or how can I not use that more, and that helps a lot, because I don't actually research a lot of the tools before I play this game. I just sort of go in blind, so to speak, and then work it out slowly, especially with the roller coasters. I'm still looking at designs of roller coasters. I think in my last episode I said I was building a hypercoaster going through the park, and that would have to be a sort of cloverleaf sort of shape in the way, because I want it to circle around each village or a little section. So the park itself, I wish I had more space, I have to say. Will be about 4 different lands sections, not including the city center. The city center will have a few more skyscrapers. They will be much narrower and smaller. I just have to figure out a way to make it have a nice skyline. There will be a few more towers, but it has to work good, because I realized how huge this skyscraper actually turned out. It turned out much bigger than I wanted, so I don't know if I can put another ride in another skyscraper. We'll see. Maybe I should actually. It should all be in skyscrapers. But I'll have to make those skyscrapers a lot smaller and thinner, and this and that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. And so the big hypercoaster that I want to build has to circle sort of everything. I want it to go through a skyscraper or 2, something like that. So maybe I build the entrance to the hypercoaster very close to the city center skyscraper you see here. Then I have to think of names and stuff for it, and history, blah blah blah. But if you have any interesting names you could name this skyscraper or any other skyscrapers or buildings in my park. I'm very grateful for comments of your ideas, because usually they're very entertaining and fun to read, and this and that. I don't think anyone's actually left me any suggestions yet, but I can imagine they're being very entertaining. So, what else can I talk about? Well, the other sections of the park will have to represent a sort of land, sort of like villagey suburb. I wanted to make a sort of suburb area, but I don't know how I could integrate things into a suburb, like rides and stuff. I don't know how interesting that is. So maybe little townhouse areas with row houses from different sort of parts. One's maybe like the main entrance. I wanted to make Second Empire that leads to this skyscraper building, but I could also make more palatial styles. I don't know, but I wanted to make a Second Empire style. I wanted to make a sort of Tudor village, even though I made lots of Tudor stuff before. I wanted to make more Tudor things, like a little English land, and maybe a little like Dutch high street. If I can figure out how to make building objects go. Anyway, I heard there was a bug, but the bug's gone. They fixed it. But if there's another way I can work out how to do it, I would love to make sort of Amsterdam row houses. But you know how, I don't know if any of you have been to Amsterdam, but because the buildings were built, I don't know why, but they were built on stilts or something, and then they not melted, but they sort of sank over time because of the water table. I have no idea. I'm talking at my butthole again. But go to Amsterdam. It has really beautiful architecture that it looks sort of sunken, like it's like it's hard to describe, but it leans over and stuff, and it has these really cool angles. And I was really hoping to emulate something like that when Alpha 2 came out, but alas, we cannot move the objects, and I was late to the party. Who realized someone told me late to the party that I could have done that with a bug, and then they fixed it. Which, all in all, made me a little sad. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because this game's still good enough. So what am I doing now? I'm also starting to work on the tower buildings. Okay, so what you'll see now is more of the tower being built, trying to use the brick and integrate it to give it some contrast. And more windows. I think it gets pretty tiresome always placing these windows. It can be a bit of a pain, but you know what, I don't know, it's fun. It's also cathartic to me, so I shouldn't be complaining. But it's a lot of windows when you build a skyscraper. I think that's why I haven't attempted this until now, until I had a lot more practice, because building really large buildings, you need to take advantage of the techniques a bit more. When you build little houses, it doesn't matter, copy and paste, who cares? But when you build a lot of stuff and it all has to sort of line up and be as precise as possible, then it matters more. Anyway, I think I've gone on for long enough, and I'll leave it there, and I will see you in the next part, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this build. I don't know where this ends, but soon you shall see the spire being built and all under completion, and then I'll move on to my next build. And of course, if you have any nice ideas of what you'd like to see in this park, it has to be in terms of cities though. Buildings from cities, or things that cities have that you think a park should have, or a ride that you can incorporate into a city, don't hesitate to let me know, because I love reading your suggestions. They're always really nice to read, and a lot of you have very, very good suggestions. So I will see you next time. Bye. Wow, it's nice of you to watch the whole video, and thank you for watching. If you want to see more, you can click on one of those boxes, and you can subscribe if you want, and or you could watch other videos and do other things. Bye!